like the great majority of residents of Detroit, I've got the greatest admiration for the transit operators of DDOT. They have the safety of this community in their hands with the thousands of passengers that they transport every day. And they have a very stressful job. It's gotten more stressful under COVID, but it's always been a stressful job with passenger interactions. What I'm feeling very badly about it is I felt like I've worked closely with the bus drivers union for the last 6 years to try to protect driver safety. We instituted the transit police for the first time, a dedicated police force to provide security to the buses. We put in first-class camera systems so that if there was an assault on the driver, the prosecutor could readily prosecute and enforce the law. And we're joining what I believe is the best trend nationally in installing driver security doors next to the driver's seats. We're spending nearly $2 million. The first ones were installed last week, and they'll all be installed by the end of the year to provide additional protection. What's troubling about what's happened is in the last 4 months, I haven't gotten a single complaint or request from the leaders of the drivers union that they had other measures they wanted us to take. Never once did they call and say, we're concerned about security, here's the next thing we want to do. The last conversations I actually had with them were 4 months ago on this issue, when I told them we were going to spend the money to put in the driver security doors. I wanted to make sure the union signed off on the doors and the design we chose. They did, and they told me they were very pleased. So when you don't hear from the unions that there's an issue, it's a little surprising when you get up on Friday morning and find out they just didn't show up for work, stranding people all over this city without notice. And it appears that the issue is not the overall safety, although I think there are some legitimate concerns there, but it looks like the issue is the discipline of an individual driver for an incident that happened earlier this month, and that driver was suspended on Thursday for a period of 29 days. I've seen the videos and I find them very disturbing. And I believe the action that DDOT has taken to date has been appropriate. And if you've seen them, you probably saw what I saw. A passenger got on the bus without a mask. The driver asked him where his mask was. He sat down, and it appears he covered his mouth with the flaps of his hat or a scarf as he sat there. When the bus didn't move, the passenger went up and asked the driver why it wasn't moving. That passenger should not have come up and crossed that line. That was inappropriate. But when you look at the response, I got to tell you, I'm disturbed by the response. It wasn't go back to your seat. It wasn't stay back behind the line. And I think the steps that DDOT have taken to date are appropriate. Now, this driver is in the middle of a due process under his contract. He still has an appeal within DDOT, and then he has a right to go to independent arbitration. That's the way the process works. But it appears that the union leaders have taken the position that if the suspension is not rescinded immediately, they're not going back to work. And that's disturbing on so many levels. Number one, it's illegal and it violates the contract. I mean, we have a contract that says that if you're suspended, you have appeal rights and arbitration. And basically, the position they're taking is that they don't really care about that. They want it stopped now. But here's the deeper concern. I have a responsibility to the safety of the drivers, which I take very seriously. But I also have a responsibility for the safety of the passengers in this city. And these drivers have an extraordinary responsibility in transporting these passengers. And if every time a driver does something that is objectionable, no matter how bad it is, and the union objects to the discipline, they simply stop work, we can't function. The people of this city will wake up every morning never knowing whether the buses are running or not running, and it will leave us in a situation that there wouldn't be any accountability for the drivers. So we have to do what we're doing. And I feel very confident the process will be fair. The driver's got his appeal process. And so I guess what I would say is this. If the union has issues on safety, I'm ready to sit down, as is Chief Craig. Today, tomorrow, we'll address it. We'll resolve them. I would have sat down and addressed them 3 days ago, a week ago, or 2 weeks ago if they'd ever said to me, there's something we want you to do. But we can't be in a situation where the system shuts down whenever somebody decides that we're holding the drivers accountable in a way that they don't like. We just can't function in this city this way. And so I'm hoping the drivers come back to work. They've got my promise to sit down and, along with the chief, and the chief whose father used to work for DDOT, and is very committed to this as well, and resolve everything we can to keep them safe. But I hope they get back to work, because the people of the city of Detroit don't deserve to get up in the morning, be sitting in a bus stop, and the buses just not show up without warning. That just should not happen. And I hope we get it corrected quickly. And with that, I'll turn it over to Michael Oglesby, who's done such a great job since he's gotten here as the director of DDOT.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, this is a difficult situation. You know, nobody wants to be here today, but here we are. Like the mayor said, he's doing a fantastic job, but more importantly, the drivers are doing an incredible job during these hard times. The pandemic's difficult. We understand that. We really do. Unfortunately, this situation causes for due process. I have to go by the contract and what's put in front of me. Apparently, that's not good enough. We have to continue on this path and do the right thing. I assure you that I'm in the middle of taking a very good look, not only at the video, but all of the surrounding issues around the situation that a lot don't know about. And I'm not going to get into them here because, again, due process means I have to do it the right way. But I can assure you that the outcome is going to be the right one. I can assure you that this should not be connected with transportation in the city of Detroit. DDOT has an obligation to provide transportation to the riders. I talked to the union about that. They understand that, and we're still at this point. So we're going to go through what we have to go through, and we're going to come up with the outcome, and we're going to let you all know because we're open and we're honest, and we're going to do the right thing. And I say to the drivers of Detroit, come back to work. We're going to go through due process. Going through what you're going through now violates a contract. We're trying to do this the right way. Listen to what we're saying, look at the video, and let's just get back to work. If you want to sit down like the mayor said, I'll also sit down with the mayor and Chief Craig, and we'll talk. But let's talk, and let's not do this. The riders don't deserve it.
Mr. Mayor, and with that, we'll take any questions.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, about an injunction. The union says that you threatened them with an injunction. Is there something coming on Monday?
I'm hoping it won't get to that. I got to tell you, I've been dealing with unions for 30 years. This is the first time in 30 years I've ever seen a union do a work stoppage in violation of their contract over a discipline issue. I mean, it's not legal, and it's really not heard of. Can you imagine if every operation in the city or state could shut down every time a union decided they didn't like a step in a grievance process? And so I'm hoping their lawyers will advise them that their action breaks state law, their action breaks the contract, and they can't do it. And so I'm hoping it won't come to that, but I'm sure the lawyers are telling them right now that the actions they've taken are not legal, and I hope we can have a conversation, get them back to work without having to go to court. I'm sure the lawyers are telling them if you go to court, you're going to lose. This is just way out of bounds on labor law. Any other questions?
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you for being here.